10% of the Mercedes-Benz cars sold in India from 2014 to 2019 were the GLA. Although it's not a sizable number, it's still a decent number considering that the GLA was a luxury crossover, a segment which is still in its nurturing phase and still has a long way to go. But the biggest concern of the GLA was that it was a low slung crossover, and in the end, size plays a very pivotal role in India. But Mercedes-Benz has finally given the GLA a much needed facelift. It's now grown up in every proportion possible. How good is it? Will it attract more customers to the showroom, or it'll just be cannibalized by the bigger siblings like the GLC? Hello and welcome back to Shutterdrives. The biggest change to the GLS exterior is of course the rear of the car, but apart from that the front also has received a massive update. The GLA isn't low slung anymore, and that's a big good news. And given the fact that Mercedes has gone for a full LED treatment for the headlamps is something to rejoice. And mind you, the headlamp intensity is really nice. And talking about the grille, Mercedes has gone for the full aluminum and chrome finish for the grille, where the emblem is housed with proud in the center of the stage. And moving down, you have the chrome garnish on the front skid plate which runs across the car. The alloys get 18-inch of Bridgestone's rubber wrapped around them. They look really classy. They also get the aluminum and blacked out glossy finish, which kind of gels really nice with the car. And given the fact that this is a grey color car, this is something that looks really nice on this. And of course you have the Mercedes-Benz emblem housed inside the center. Personally, I feel that the biggest upgrade to the GLA has been the rear of the car, and the rear now looks more mature. It looks more sportier. Mercedes-Benz has gone with the full LED treatment for the rail tail lamps too. They look really nice, and you get the chrome garnish on the rear plate as well, and you get the chrome garnish between the exhaust of the car, which looks really elegant. And this is how you open the boot of the car. This is the boot space. And the biggest downside, however, in the boot is you do not get a dedicated compartment to store the spare wheel, and this occupies a sizable chunk of the boot space. And apart from this, you do have an option to keep maximum a couple of duffel bags, or probably you would have to keep the spare wheel at home if you want to stuff in more bags, which is highly not recommended. And to close the boot of the car, you just have to press this button here, which means that the tailgate is electrically operable, and this is how the boot is going to close. The interiors of the GLA have received a massive makeover, and the AC vents and a lot of other things are quite similar to the A-Class limo. The AC vents are really sporty. They are wrapped with aluminium, and they look really nice. And you have a wooden finish here, and you have the steering wheel which hosts loads of controls on it. But however, the biggest the biggest thumbs up in the GLA has to be the superb infotainment system that's there, the MBUX system. I'll just go through a couple of controls here. You can control the screen directly from here. And talking about the options that are there in the MBUX system, basically it's a dual screen layout. If you want to control the instrument cluster, you have an option to control that from here, the right part of the steering wheel. But the left part of the infotainment system, or the infotainment system, can be controlled through here. This is the phone, navigation, radio, media, and the basic stuff there. And talking about the color options of the ambient lighting, so this is the purple light that you see here, and then you have an option to change the color of the ambient lighting as well. This is very cool, and this is going to appeal to a lot of young people to whom the car is actually targeted. Apart from the ambient lighting, in the comfort, you have an information option here. So these are the options inside this. Basically it gives you the battery voltage, the power that is consumed right now when you're running the car, and this is the average consumption. And going back to the main menu here, and these are the vehicle setting options. You have an option to turn off the ESP as well. Right now we'll just keep it for the ESP on. And in the attention assist, you can change the sensitivity of it, where the sensitivity of the sensors is dependent. And this is the brake assist that you have. I would like to reiterate that the screen can be controlled through various methods. You have an option to control the screen through the trackpad here. Basically you can control the instrument cluster from here. This is the trackpad. We have a trackpad on the left, and there's a trackpad on the right too. And this way you can control various functionalities of the instrument cluster. Start off with, you have an assistance option here that gives you a driver assistance system, and then these are the phone, navigation. You can set the trip meter from here. There is the media, where you can also change the songs directly from this trackpad here, but there's no Bluetooth connected right now. And one of the coolest features of the GLA is you get to change the instrument cluster. So this is the classic instrument cluster that you saw. This is the sport instrument cluster. Third one, which is the progressive instrument cluster. And of course, there are other instrument cluster options that you can check out. And apart from that, one thing that's really nice is you have an option to check out the tachometer detail levels as well. So this gives you an conception. This is the mileage over a period of time, and there is also an option to have a navigation inbuilt on the screen so that you're not distracted when you're driving the car. And of course you have a couple of interface for the main speedometers cluster as well. In case you want to check when is the next service of the car, this is going to give you that. So this is going to give you the tire pressure monitoring system, but right now that's not available because the car is off. And this is the service reminder which you can check out here. In case you want to check out the engine level, you would have to turn on the ignition, and we are just going to do that. So this is the engine oil level. The GLA is equipped with memory seats. If you know what memory seats are good, but if not, I'll explain that to you now. So basically imagine that there are 3 different people driving this car very often, and everybody has a different sitting position according to the requirement. So every time you need not adjust it manually. For all 3 people, do not adjust the sitting positions manually, just need to save it 1 2 3. Basically it can store up to 3 different sitting positions, so that if a person A comes and sits in the car, you just have to press the button 1 here, and the seat is going to be adjusted according to his position, and 2 and 3 simultaneously. So this is something nice, and lots of cars even in the 30 to 40 lakh bracket are getting this memory seats nowadays, and that's something really nice. That's about it. You do have an option to store few things here. There is a storage space here, and there is an option to charge your phone as well. And also most just like any other car there, the GLA is equipped with wireless charging. The biggest improvement in the interiors of the GLA has to be the back seat. The back seat is now much improved, and in fact the legroom is more than adequate. The earlier GLA had a cramped legroom, and this was suffocating to most of the prospective buyers, and that's one of the primary reasons why people moved away from the GLA, because the space inside the car was less. But that's not the case here. The front seats are scooped out, and which offer more legroom. The rear AC vents, it's not a dual zone climate control for the rear, which means that the temperature is going to be standard, and there's a USB. The rear passengers also get a sunroof, although it's not retractable like the front sunroof, but it does allow for ample of sunlight to come inside the car, which makes the cabin look fairly airy. And apart from that, the glass area is slightly taller, which means that you feel that you're going to sit slightly down inside the car. But that said, a big thumbs up on the interiors, because it's now much better than the earlier GLA. And also given the fact that the under-thigh support is good, there's a lot of headroom, makes things much more better in the newer GLA compared to the older car. Hey guys, so we're driving the Mercedes-Benz GLA. So this is the petrol variant and not the diesel variant. So the power outputs are 165 bhp and 250 Newton meter of torque, and this engine is also jointly developed by Renault and Nissan as well. So talking about the acceleration from the car, isn't very brisk. You don't feel that the car is pushing you back to the seat. It's a very sedate and lighter on the foot car, which means that it's nicer to you if you do not plan to get ambitious with the throttle input. Should you get ambitious with the throttle input, this car is going to slightly disappoint you in terms of the performance level, because this is not exactly tailored to the enthusiast. Probably you'd have to look at the AMG line of cars for that from the Mercedes stable. And talking about the drive modes, so basically you have an option to change the drive modes from here. There's individual sport, comfort and eco. So what happens in the eco mode, just like any other car is, the throttle levels are set at, so basically it's focused at churning out maximum mileage from every single drop of fuel. That's what the eco mode does. So the comfort mode is tailored at providing you a nicer experience when you're driving the car at bad roads or roads filled with potholes. So right now we are in the sport mode, and sport mode is probably the best in the car compared to other modes, because the engine response is nicer. The engine kind of growls. It's more vocal, and vocal in the sense, of course, it's nicer, but it's not a very sporty exhaust note as such. But that said, I would definitely pick the sport mode, because the steering feedback is the best in sport mode compared to the comfort and eco mode. Not that the steering feedback is bad in other modes, but in sport mode the steering weighs up really nice. With speeds we are doing around 50 to 60 kmph mark, and it's a control load, and the steering weighs up really nice here, and it's very confidence inspiring as you gain speeds and as you gain momentum in this car. Although it's a small nice car, you would probably mistake it for a car that's not tailored to the enthusiast. Probably that's there from the driving dynamics, but the steering feedback of the car is really nice. I mean, especially in these modern times where many manufacturers are moving towards lighter steering cars which are easy to drive and things like that. Here comes the steering, which is really nice. I mean, it weighs up nicely with the car gaining speed, and that's very, very nice. And a big blessing for the enthusiast is that the car is equipped with paddle shifters, which means that you do have some kind of control. So right now this is M3, which means that the car is in the third gear. So right now this is M4, which means that the car is in fourth gear, and I'll downshift it to third gear, and let's see how does the paddle shifters fare. So this is a sport mode, which is supposed to be really nice. And okay, so the engine does rev up nicely. So there are a couple of speedometer and the tachometer designs, nothing but the instrument cluster options. So this is one of the options that is there. You see here, and I kind of like this a lot. And talking about paddle shifters, they give you a lot of flexibility. Does the car have manual override? Yes, the car has manual override, which means that if you do not change the gears after a certain span, the gears are going to upshift themselves. I mean, the car is going to change the gear itself. It's not going to wait for you, because when the RPM levels max out completely, it's going to hurt the gearbox. Talking about the braking, of course, this may not be the best of the environment to check out the braking of the car, but we did check out the braking properly, and it's quite impressive. It's better than what we expected from this baby Merc. And talking about the gear shifts, which are very, very important, if not the normal, I mean, if not the paddle shifter mode, the gear shifts are really nice. It's powered by a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, and the gear shifts are really nice because especially in the comfort mode, which is my pick of the lot, it's a right balance between the eco and sport mode. The gear shifts are nice. It feels that the car is upshifting at the right time. The gear shifts are progressive. There is no much of a jerk as such, but there are a couple of instances, especially in the eco mode, when the car does exhibit a decent or a minimum amount of turbo lag. For example, the overtaking will require a lot of planning to be done, because there is some kind of resistance from the gearbox as soon as you tap the throttle hard. What I'm trying to tell you is, you need to be gentle with the car. You need to be really courteous. On the car's throttle, or else it's going to leave you disappointed. It's not the car, where you where you tap the accelerator hard and the car is going to maneuver zip zap zoom. Talking about zip zap zoom, that's the 3 driving modes of XV700. Weird names, but yeah, coming back to the GLA. So as you can see here, it's a curve, and the steering weighs up so nice even in decent space. Because we're in sport mode, the steering is slightly more ambitious here, but in eco mode, the steering gets a bit lighter in the eco and comfort mode, but in the sport mode it weighs up nicely. So this is the high beam of the car, and this is the low beam. Just because it's nice, it's an opportunity for us to check out the headlamp intensity, and it's quite impressive. And one of the nicest part about the GLA is it's quite easy for you to maneuver the car inside the city. It's very, very easy to change lanes. It's very easy to stuff into the tight parking spots and get out of the parking spots. The Mercedes-Benz GLA feels largely confident on the move. It feels planted on the highway with the large tire sizes and well laid out suspension, keeping it fairly confident over cracks and big undulations. There are some untoward body movements which are not called for, but with over 180 millimeters of ground clearance, that's the least we could expect. Anyways, the car settles quite easily once faced with such obstacles. The GLA also holds up pretty well around the corners. There is some lean that is expected with the large crossover-ish body style, but that's also in check. Only that the spirited drivers will miss the dynamics and characteristics of a rear wheel biased car, but for others this shouldn't be a blocker at all. Small compact luxury SUVs have started to make so much sense. They're extremely agile and easy to maneuver inside the city, where every inch of parking space is a prized possession. Feed them with open tarmac on a road and they are very happy to bring an accelerated smile on your face. Tap the gas harder and push them harder on the corners, and they are brave enough to remind you that they aren't game for some serious performance. The GLA does exactly that. It ticks all the right boxes that you can expect from a compact luxury crossover. It looks nicer now, is much more spacious inside, which is a big advantage, and it's nicer to drive as well. Of course, if you are an enthusiast who believes that performance is everything, and if you want a car that is really good to drive in the 50 lakh price bracket, you might have to look elsewhere, because the GLA isn't very exciting to drive but does the job fairly well. And given the fact that the new GLA is equipped with the latest MBUX system is a really nice thing, because it's fabulous and does a whole load of job. And what's more important is the steering is very precise, which means that every time you take the GLA on a corner, it's going to keep you happy but not very exciting end of the day. If you guys like the video, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notification, and more importantly, follow us on Instagram. Take care and drive safe.